Hi, we're My Digital Enemy. We're in our studio just outside of Brighton, and today we're going to show you how we start working on a track. Well, we've always kind of worked together doing the whole music thing, and before we were doing electronic music, we were in bands together, like well, basically rock bands. I was playing bass, Kieran was playing guitar, and that was when we were at college. And it kind of evolved from that into getting into stuff like the Prodigy, which was a bit more crossover. And then we both went out and bought samplers like Akai S2000s. Went back to a different college to do music. We both went to the same one and learnt how to use all them and all the other gear and everything. We were using Outboard at first. And then it kind of evolved into doing what we're doing now, mainly using the software now because it's become so good.
Yeah, we've started out doing, like Sergey said, doing sort of bands and stuff. And then I think the first kind of electronic act that we started was called The Beyond. Didn't really do anything or sell anything, but it sort of got us into that electronic sort of sound. And then we went through doing like trance music, sort of disco-y house music, hard house music, and then I think we sort of, as we got a bit older, we sort of slowed down the pace, mellowed out a bit. And eventually started with My Digital Enemy.
Getting into the house.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, since we switched, everything seems to have been, well, for us, it seems like we're doing something we really enjoy now, where before it felt a bit like we're sort of more trying to do something, but we weren't really sure what we wanted at the time. Yeah. But now we're sort of well into what we're doing.
I was using Notator back then, which was like with an Atari ST, and then
I had this really old school program called MIDI Orchestrator. It was honestly terrible. It was really bad. It was just a MIDI sequencer, no audio at all, and used that with the sampler and stuff. It worked to trigger and stuff, but I remember like the velocity levels. You just had 4 levels of velocity. It wasn't, and it was that bad that it was either, with the block you had to sort of, it was different shadings to what velocity you were on. Yeah. So it really was. It was quite a basic program looking back. But I think when Cubase, they brought out Cubase, I think it was SX version 3, SX3, that was when we really got into seeing what you could do with actual audio as well. Kind
of when we went to college to study music technologies, when we sort of switched to the decent ones like Cubase.
And then we'd be using like
we had
the
samplers, Novation, didn't we, as well? Like the Supernova and some of these keyboards.
We had a virus. So we were using a mixture of it, and slowly as the like Cubase got better and the computers got more powerful, we slowly stopped using the hardware bits.
It was just the time that it took to plug everything in and record it, and then you go back and you'd be writing for a day, and then you go back and be like, actually I want to go back and change that riff slightly, and you'd
you would have bounced it out, and you can't get back into it, and you've got to try and find the patch again.
It's amazing how nowadays
you
don't have to do all that stuff.
Your project,
you occasionally plug something in, but like it's mostly we'll use stuff off the computer. In the old days, you used to do all the automation in the MIDI sort of where the velocities are on the bar like that, and like now with all you can just draw in the automation. It's just so much easier. It's like it's brilliant.
As soon as that switched, I think in Cubase 4 they brought that in, and that was just made it so much better. One
of the biggest things that I always use which is really good is the media bay as well, and the fact you can like put what the tuning of the track is, and then just flick through samples and beats and everything, and just everything sort of in time in tune, and you can really work quite quickly like that. You can go so much more into depth than it seems I mean, you probably can do that sort of thing in Ableton, but it feels, for me, it feels so much easier to do it in Cubase,
Yeah, because we've always worked with it.
Yeah, it's been using it for 15 years. So.
You've got all the sort of Melodyne type features as well, which are just...
Yeah, it's great for like doing for vocals and also sometimes just making really messed up little choppy vocal edits and things, and like what we'd generally do is we'd use, say, Contact to chop the vocal up and play it, and then we'll bounce it out, put it into Cubase, and then be able to sort of play around with the notes and all that sort of thing. So, yeah. You are all I need. 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 Well, we just
just thought we'd literally just get an idea from scratch, just so you can kind of see how we develop something from the start. Just
get an idea of how we work, and just to maybe pick up some tips and stuff for what we do, if it's useful for anyone.
So what we'll do, we'll get some drums down first, and then build it from there, I think.
Yeah. We sometimes have a general idea where it's like, okay, we want to be making a house track that will be for our label, or it will be for, you know, a general label that we're working with. So, but when we're working as My Digital Enemy, generally it's going to have a sound and a direction. Sometimes we do stuff for syncs and stuff like that, which is a little bit more, you'd have to do some planning, but generally when it's just us working, we could start something from scratch and just, you know, vibe basically.
But saying that, it is one tip that's quite good, I think, is it is good to have an end game. So like if you've got a track you like and think, oh, I want to write something a bit like this, that massively helps in the writing process, instead of just going totally random, especially when there's more than one of you, because you might have totally different ideas and start just sort of taking them in different directions, and then you end up with a total mess and it's going all over the place. But it's kind of like we can do an idea of like a typical sort of My Digital Enemy style track with a kind of a deep house style bass line, some 909 style drums and some pianos.
Sort of generally our sound.
So we're going to start just by dropping a kick drum in, really. So I'm just going to import a sample of a kick.
We've got our samples set out in banks, basically, in styles of different types of dance music, and then broken down into, you know, drum loops, kicks, pretty much how a sample CD set out.
So that's a kick loop, but we've also got just some single hits in here as well. So I think I'm just going to go for that one. Oh, that was a ride. So for now, I'm going to just put this one in. Quite often, we'll get the drums down fairly quickly, and then we can, if we want to, switch them later, especially something like a kick drum.
You just get a general feel for it. And then, like Seelig says, you can build the track around it, and then if suddenly you don't think the kick's working or the hat or whatever,
you can
just swap
them. So I'm just going to duplicate this by... Wait a minute, I'm on bar, I need to switch it to beat, that's what's going on. If you hold down Alt and just drag, and then glue them all together. Okay, so now we need to set our BPM.
So generally, we'd work from anywhere from 122 to 126, sort of max.
So at the moment, it's set to 124 already in this project. So I've just got a 4-beat loop, just a single bar. So then we want to add some more drums to that, and what we've been using recently is battery. I'm just using a standard kit that's on here. It's called the 909 Detailed Kit. And this has got some of the sort of classic 909 drum sounds, which get used in a lot of dance music productions, especially house music. And this should... So it's just coming through on the keys here. So what I want at the moment is probably a clap would be nice now. So if I go up an octave. Oh, that's it, right. So there's a typical 909 clap sound. So we can play that in. So if I just record that now, I'm just going to hit the record button there. So I've just recorded 2 claps in. I actually recorded them on the wrong beat, but that's no worry. I can just drag the whole thing like that. And I'll drag the beginning out there. So if I double click on that, I can look at it there.
Quantize the lengths as well, just for now.
And I can just hit the quantize button. If you can see, it's slightly off there. So if I hit quantize, it just pulls it dead onto the beat, which is Q for quantize.
We generally swing our stuff to about 50%. Give it. Obviously, it doesn't matter when you're using the lower divisions, but when you're getting into the sort of the 8th and 16th notes, it really gives it like a sort of housey feel, a bit more of a groove. So yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is turn the kick down slightly. Just because it's best not to if you start with your kick literally at 0, you can't really add, once you start adding other stuff, everything will be clipping. So you need to have your kick at a slightly lower volume, really. So I'm going to turn it down to like -5, or -4.5 will do. Oh, -5 it's on. Okay. Okay, so we'll just check the velocities on the clap. But what I could do to make it so they are exactly the same. Wait a sec. Yeah, to make it, I'm just going to copy this one, so I've got two claps that are exactly the same. Okay, so now I'm just going to duplicate this track. Just delete that. And so now I've got another battery track, which I can now play something else onto. So that was the clap. So we could do like a closed hat, maybe on the beat. Something like that. So what we do, just duplicate that.
Get it a bit longer so you can put some more variation.
Yeah, to duplicate, it's just literally highlight what you want and just go Control and D, and that just copies it across. So we do the closed hat, yeah. So I click on that track, hit record. Okay, right. So quantize. Okay, right, that didn't move that note there. That's it, that's what I wanted. So these, I'll just turn them all to full velocity, I think, down here. So I'm not worrying too much about the mix between these at the moment, because what I'm going to do, once I've got some drums down there, I will bounce them all out individually as audio tracks, and then I can get in there and process and mix them all separately. So it's just a case of getting the tracks down at the moment. So I'm doing the same again, duplicate track again, and then we can get maybe an open hat in. Okay, right, so I'm going to just record a standard offbeat open hat. Okay, right, quantize. Wait a second. I'll just halve that. Just go with half. So I'm just going to go in.
Make the lengths, quantize the lengths. Oh. Move them all to the offbeat.
Yeah. So I didn't. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Duplicate that. What I'm going to do as well, because this closed hat, there's a tuning function within battery. So with the closed hat, I'm just going to tune it down slightly. Makes it sound a bit dirtier. So if I solo that. Okay. So now I'll do it. I'm just going to duplicate again and do something with a snare in there.
And once you've done that bit, I think that'd be enough just to have a vibe for the
Yeah,
drums.
we can then bounce the drums out.
Yeah, and then maybe move on to some of the melodies.
Yeah, so we just find a... So there's lots of different snares on here. That'll do. I think that'll do. Something like that. Okay, right. So then again, just quantize it. Something I didn't mention before, Kieran mentioned it, we tend to swing our quantize to 50%, and you can do that. We've got it preset here, so it's like swing 50. If you need to set it up yourself, you just go to the quantize panel, which is here, and then you just grab
the percentage on the
normally
swing.
that would be on 0, so you grab that swing, just turn that up to 50, and it gives you a nice little swing. On the 16th, you'll notice it on the 16th notes, it will sort of give you a nice swing to the percussion. So that's like a little snare kind of groove on there. So what I do now is bounce out these as audio. Yeah, so I can't use batch export on this because they're all coming through the same output, so I have to individually bounce them out. So what I do is just go export. I solo the one I want. So this is a clap. So when I'm in the export audio screen, I tick the battery output and make sure that I'm set to use project folder, which is there, and then import to pool and audio track. And so I'm just going to name that as clap. What am I doing? Clap.
If you can spell.
If I can spell it, clap. Okay. And then I just go through and do that for all the other ones. For me, I find if I don't have it coloured, I find it really quite confusing. Kieran can work with it just totally random.
Yeah. It's, sometimes because I might start a track and then Seelig will come in on it, or he might start a track and come in it. But I'm a bit more sporadic when I do it, so I'm.
He will quite often be sort of like this, and he'll just be continuously doing this, going up, and I'll be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But I tend to sort of hit that and make it all go smaller, so I can see it easier.
I kind of like working fast sometimes and just getting the ideas down and then sorting it out later. But I suppose
or never sorting it
out. But I think doing it and sorting it all out first is definitely the right way to do it if you're going to.
Yeah, if someone was engineering for you, like say you in a professional studio, you'd expect them to be labelling it all religiously, wouldn't you? I've got the stems bounced out from that battery session, so what I do, I leave all them there, so if I want to go back in, I've still got them all as MIDI, so I can tweak them or whatever if I wanted to, but at the moment I've got them all as audio here. So what we do, we just, at the moment, we just get the snare and the clap. What we tend to do is we actually mix our tracks with a couple of plugins on the actual master output.
Yes, as we get to this point, when we're going to start trying to get a feel for putting sort of like the bass and everything in, we generally put, we've got a 5-band multi-band compressor, which we use from the TC Electronics Power Core, which is like an outboard thing, and then we also use the Oxford limiter as well, and it just gives it that sort of louder sound. It sounds more like, it's almost polished already, and so you can get a feel for writing the bass and everything, and it doesn't have to have that much in the track to sound like it kicks, because I find if you do it the other way round and you don't have that all on, sometimes you can be writing a bass line just with the drums and it doesn't sound full enough, where
it's kind of like the production is such a big part of the music we write. Like a badly produced record, it doesn't matter how good all the riffs are and everything. It's just sort of it needs the production. So when you're writing it, it's good to already have part of that. And if it comes to it, you can always just mute, like turn these off at the end, bounce it out, and get it professionally mastered if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, for us, a lot of the time we just do our own mastering. Yeah. So these plugins.
To push that.
Yeah, so what I'll do, I'll push the input of that. Once we put the bass in, I'll probably have to turn it down again.
Yeah.
You see that's sort of compressing a bit. And normally I have the Oxford's quite a good plugin. Normally I aim with the Oxford for it to be going to about +3, and that, so it's sort of, it's giving it some compression. You can see there the gain reduction while it's playing. You can see that that's just pulling it down a bit. The other good thing about this, it actually does protect your ears as well, because if you suddenly played something really loud, that would actually limit it and keep the volume down.
Yeah.
So you can sort of set a threshold of where you want your hearing not to go. Okay, so now we've got a rough mixer there.
Yeah.
What I was going to do is add a bit of EQ onto that hat as well, because where I tuned it down, it's sort of gone a little bit dull. So. Okay, so that's sort of sounding roughly good. So now we'll get the open hat in there. Again, pull the volume down. Again, I'm just going to EQ it slightly, you're just using the standard Cubase EQ. Make it a little brighter, and then again turn it down slightly. Okay, so that's that in there. So now we go to the snare, which is extremely loud again. We'll turn that down. Again, add a little bit of top end on the EQ on that, and then turn it down again.
Yeah.
Just add that little sort of brightness to make it cut through.
We sometimes just try and get it so it sounds nice, but we won't go fully into compression stuff and that until we've got like more of a vibe of the track. It's just to get the general feel of the drums sounding right with the EQs and stuff. Okay,
so I've EQ'd the snare very slightly just to brighten it up a little bit, and now I'm just going to add a very short reverb on it. And I'm going to use Reverb A, which is actually an old Cubase reverb from the really old Cubase, which we still use. And funnily enough, the graphics, because it's 32-bit and we're now on 64-bit, the graphics don't load up properly. But it still works, though.
The nice thing about this reverb is some of the newer, better reverbs, they're almost too transparent, and they're great for vocals and stuff, but they don't colour the sound, whereas like stuff I find with some of the drums and stuff, you actually want to hear the reverb. It almost like adds like a colour to it.
And this is quite good for reverb. So we tend to use this. Just sounds good.
Yeah.
And, yeah, simple. I don't know. I'm not sure if you can even get it anymore, though. To be honest, I don't know. So there's this. That's got a short reverb. I can maybe make it even shorter.
Going on from that, we'd either go into some sort of melody part. So what I'd like to do normally is we get like a small vocal and maybe chop it up and make some sort of little riff, and then round that we'd work a bass and a piano, say for example. Okay, so yeah, basically we'd been playing around with some vocals, previous to this that we liked. Put it in. Just play it for you a sec.
Yes, you are all I need to take away this loneliness. Yeah.
Right, so basically what I generally do is put that into contact, then go and find the vocal, which is in projects, future music session.
That's the problem, you have to import it, where if you use the actual Cubase one, you can just drag it. You can drag it from the main window straight in there.
It's not as great with
this.
this.
Yeah, contact, you can do more in there.
So I put the vocal, pull it into here, go into this little spanner thing, which then enables me to go into the WAV here. And there's a little grid function, which actually can split the wave up into 16ths, 32s, 8th notes. You can also do it where it chops it at the points, hit points of everything. But I kind of like doing it like this because you can get some really random like little notes and stuff with it. So basically we do this, go into slice, let's pull this over to here, and that then slices that into 8th notes and assigns it to the keyboard. So then I go onto the mapping editor, get rid of that back bit there, and put it onto whereabouts I'd like to play it, which is around here. That's now chopped the vocal and assigned it to the thing there. So
it should play on here.
So now I then get that beat rolling and go over here and
have a
play around and try and get something working. So I just try and find some some clips that I like the sound of. These are quite. I like that one. And that one, say, so we are. Or something. So then maybe we'd roll the beat and I'd just
have a
something
little
up.
play over the top.
Something, so that. Something like that, so maybe bounce if Turk hits record.
What I'd do is delete this because we don't need that, and then I'm just going to literally make this duplicate it. So we've got 8 bars. 8 bars enough?
Yeah, 8 bars fine, yeah.
Okay, so I just hit record and then Kieran can just play over the top of it.
Something like that. Okay, I'd go into this now. Probably quantise the lengths. So basically, I just went into MIDI, then down to functions, and then fixed lengths. And as I've got it set to 16th notes up there, it's pulled it all to 16th notes. Just from listening to it, I sounded like the top notes needed to be longer, and the bottom notes sounded quite nice being short. So what I'd probably then try and do is do a variation on the end of that. So you've got to drag that over. So we've got. Then maybe, I don't know, find another note. So you get like a little bit of a variation towards the last bit. and then maybe just copy that over it again. Okay. Sorry, that's the one. Yeah, so basically we've got like a little, I've put all the velocities to 4, like that. We've got like a little groove. I kind of like using the vocals because it instantly gives it an organic sound, which you can't really get from just playing a synth in there. You know what I mean? I mean, the other thing I might do generally would be is check out the tuning of it, because sometimes it can sound nicer when it's tuned down a bit. But in this case, I kind of like it where it was.
I was thinking it sounded quite cool, though.
Yeah. So, okay, so then generally while we've got this, I'd probably try and quickly go in, find like a bass sound. So I'd probably use Contact again, just to get a sampled bass that's sort of already set, just to get a feel to write the bass with, and then we could either deconstruct it, change the bass totally, and make our own one, you know, or add to it.
Quite often layer them up as well.
Yeah,
we
we
get
sometimes
like a
have
sub
like
from Massive, or
yeah,
Massive we use a lot for basses.
Yeah, we'd have like a sub and maybe a sort of square from Massive, or and then maybe we still use a Trilogy as well sometimes for the subs on that, which are pretty cool. Right, okay, so I know that there's some good, I've got some good bass sounds, multi-sample bass sounds in this house folder that we've got here. Here we go. Sounds, multi-sampled instruments. Kind of go for, yeah, that's kind of got a nice kind of vibe to it. Can't remember if I use that. Yeah, so I just drag that into Contact. We got the bass, so I can sort of instantly have quite a nice fat sound to play with, and then obviously later, if we want to make it a bit more original, we can add to it or change it basically. So a level on that, and then drop it in.
See, I've brought up the actual full mixer now.
Yeah. For once. Right. Okay. Yeah. So we just roll it round. I'll just try and think of something to go with that. Let's play it in a moment. Something like that. Okay. Something like that, and then maybe just, yeah, do we need the chords back?
Turn the vocal down.
So,
shall I hit record?
Yeah, we'll do something like that, and then. Something like that, and then generally what I'd do then is go through and edit it and add some. I mean, I'm not the best at playing a keyboard. I can play a bit, but I generally get like a feel for some of the notes that I like to use. And then, obviously, if Seelig likes it as well, he's sitting there not saying anything. But yeah, so then, yeah, we'd go through and like edit around and play with it now. So then again, I'd go into the MIDI here, go to functions, fix lengths, just so I can get my head around the rhythm that I've got in there. Maybe move the second half.
3 here should be like more of a...
We go quicker.
When I have 2 instead of 3. So it's sort of more in this groove. Then continuing on the groove. So you've got like a sort of triple groove going right through the...
I see what you mean.
Yeah, that sounds more groovy like that.
Copying the rhythm of that one.
Yeah.
Back to the root now, I suppose. So go. I'd make that skip a little quicker, maybe. So. I know.
It's like this needs some more variation, now, doesn't it?
Yeah. Right.
Like these 3, maybe if we move them like up.
Kind of sounds like it needs to resolve there, but I don't know. Something like that, yeah. And then generally what I do is stick all the velocities up on this as well, as it's a sample. I don't think it's really, it's not multi-sampled anyway, but yeah, just for later
It's
on.
quite good to have your bass sort of punchy anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
So generally, we'd probably have the velocities the same.
Yeah, kind of try it a little bit longer. So something like that seems to kind of work, along with the vocal. Kind of a groove and a bass line going on there, and then I'd maybe then go into add in a section with, like, say we could like get a piano or something that works with it.
Maybe we should test it. You know, you've chopped the vocal. We should try the actual full vocal as well.
Okay, yeah.
With the bass.
Do you want to take over and do that?
Yeah, just make sure it's in case, because having the chopped vocal is good, but in case we want to add a bit more.
Yeah, it's sometimes kind of nice if you've got a chopped vocal like that to where the full vocal is, get one of the little phrases or the words to use at the end of like a 16 or something, so it makes it recognisable. That's if you're not using a sample that you don't want anyone to know that you're using that.
Yeah.
But this one's totally sample free. It's clearance and everything.
Okay, right, so we go into the audio pool, which is Control P, which, because Kieran already imported that vocal, so I know it's in the audio pool already. Yeah. So I just drag that into the project again. Create a new track. Oh, we want to mute the chopped vocal now, actually. Yeah. Okay, this says it's 125 BPM on this vocal, so a cool thing you can do here, if you double click on it, it brings you up to the sample editor. And if you hit the tempo, where it says tempo here, that's the tempo of the sample, which it's actually analysed it slightly wrong. So if I put 125...
And then hit that.
Yeah, hit this button here, this will actually automatically time stretch that sample down to our project tempo, which is 124.
As long as that first tempo was right, it should be in time.
Yeah, it should be. I think there's a bit on the beginning though, but we'll just see.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, you see it starts on, for a start, it's got a little bit before it.
You need to start on the UR.
Yeah, so what I need to do, put that down.
Yes, you are all I...
Like the U is where it starts, so I'm just going to trim the beginning of it. Maybe to there.
You are all I need to...
Okay.
You are all I need to
worked. The end maybe. The thing is, what we'd probably do is just use this vocal
in the break somewhere. So like
yeah.
you have it. You could probably splice some of the "You Are All I Need" into the choppy
into the
bit
groove.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe at the end of an 8 or a 16. That could kind of work.
This as well, we could have a simplified version, possibly.
Yeah.
So I've just duplicated that, so now I've got two copies of it. I'm just wondering if we could, for the beginning. Oh, wait a minute, what happened there? Oh.
Just lose the other bits.
Just wanted to try. Actually, that sounded quite cool if you delete that. Sort of sounds cooler with less, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you think?
yeah, that can work. Yeah. I find sometimes when you're playing it in, you end up you can over put stuff in, but then it's good to then in hindsight take it out.
Yeah, just sort of strip stuff back. Yeah. Sometimes sounds a bit sort of cooler.
But like at this end section on the last bit, you could put the take away this moment from the
yeah. Oh, that was meant to not have one there.
Yeah.
Delete that. Yeah, so we've got a slightly different variation on the end there, where it's got an extra note down there, which isn't on this bit.
Yeah.
It's good to have little subtle variations in stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So we've got our rough idea here. So what we thought, it might be nice if there's a little bit more of the vocal spliced into that choppy vocal groove. Mm-hmm. So
to take away this moment would be quite nice just at the end, which I think would be the full. Or the or You Are All I Need. Yeah.
You are all I need.
So I've just chopped that vocal at the end of it off there to make some room,
can fit in
and
there.
we try and fit something in the gap.
You are all I need today. You are all I need.
I think it wasn't the right. I
was just wondering if it worked better if it was a bit shorter.
Okay.
You are all I need. You are all I need.
I think that could work if you actually splice the need and stuck it on the other end of the thing, so it leads into the loop going round. If you do that.
Get the need. Okay.
Just splice the need, and then just maybe get that and delay that part off or something. So it just sort of.
You are all I need.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, so I shorten that and do a little fade out on it would be handy as well, just on this bit. Just grab that corner, do a little fade out.
Yeah. Some like reverb on that vocal, that one.
Yeah.
You are all I need.
Yeah, so
we tail that off so it doesn't sound dead. So dead on.
Yeah, we stick a little reverb on that.
Yeah.
This time, we try the fusion field this time.
Yeah, I find the fusion field's really good for massive reverbs. It's really, really good, that one. Slightly less coloured than the Cubase one.
You are all I need. You are all I need.
Much shorter than turned up loads.
You are all I need.
Yeah, this was actually a really clean
You
reverb.
are all I need.
So we got that sort of roughly in there. Wait a minute. Made it really small. Okay. So now, just sort of, we'd probably spend more time actually working on all this and sort of refining it and everything. But for the sake of like the tutorial, we're going to go straight into the breakdown now, and try and work a kind of sort of a piano melody that will work with the vocal and maybe the bass as well. So they can all lock in together would be quite cool.
I think generally what we do to get the groove, we'd run the drums without the kick drum through the break, like through the break section.
Okay, so copy then.
And then we'll try and get the full vocal rolling, and maybe try or we could have the choppy vocal and then try and get a piano that works around that.
What I could do, this vocal, actually, mate, I'd do this on a separate channel, I think. So I'd duplicate the vocal track, have it on a completely separate channel in the break. Sometimes it's good to have different channels for stuff like, because in the break you might want a bigger reverb on it or different effects to what you have while it's actually going through the track.
It can be more of a pain to be trying to automate it all rather than just go, right, okay, that's a separate section.
Yeah, and you can always make a group up. You just go add track, if you wanted to adjust the volume together, you make a group and assign them both to the same group.
So you make like a vocal group, then all the vocals will go through that thing, so you can turn them up and down in comparison, to the track.
So I just assign them, instead of stereo out, now I can just send them to the vocal group. We use groups a lot even with the bass as well. We quite often layer our basses. We make a bass group, stick them through, then you can tweak the effects and it tweaks it on all the sounds at once. Okay, so we want to lose this other vocal. Okay. Turn this one down a slightly.
You are all I need. You are all I need. You are all I need. You are all I need.
It'd be good to have one and then,
Look like a little chop or something.
Yeah, a little chop. Well, I was thinking you could say it twice and then or 3 times. And
you are all I need. 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 You are all.
That's quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah. And then on the last one, have the full bit.
All I need. You are all I need. You are all I need.
Might be cool to chop this as well, the I need.
You are all I need. You are all I need. You are all I need. You are all I need. You are all.
Yeah, see, that's cool. And then what I tend to do is just give them a little fade out. It makes the samples just a little bit, you don't get a sort of click on the end or anything if you do that with them.
Yeah.
And then what we do is probably have that running again.
On the last section, it's A to take away.
Yeah,
You could do
which would probably be before it either went into the drop or the piano came filtered up or something.
Yeah.
We'd have that as a bit of a moment in the track.
Yeah.
So for now, let's try just stretching that out.
You are all I need to take away this loneliness, yeah.
And then you could drop back into the track after that, yeah. Or the piano
So
or whatever, yeah.
That could work as a sort of little fill.
Yeah.
Timing-wise, it kind of adds on a 2-bar section, but we can make that work with sort of editing and builds. And so that's cool. So I think that works. So now what we probably want to do is think of a sort of piano that might go with that vocal.
Generally, making the pianos, we'd use Contact again, and I'd normally try and mix it with like a Nexus piano, so you get the real sort of sound piano and more dancey synthetic sound.
Bit like a sort of M1 sort of.
Sounds, yeah. Generally, what we do, we'd either think like we're going to make a piano riff that's independent of the bass, and it's only going to be in the break, and then the bass will build and the bass will kick in, and it's not going to be ever played over the top of the bass. Or you do it the other way, where the piano is quite, it's based around the bass line, so then the piano can be in the break, then the track can kick in with the bass, and then the piano can come over that bass and build it, depending on how we want to do it. But okay, so
yeah, both ways kind of work. It's just
it's just whichever way it's kind of want to go with the track.
And how underground you want the track to be. Some people hate it when the piano's sort of actually kicking along. They prefer it just to be in the break than kicking something really dubby.
Okay, so we've got the Nexus here. Open up, say, the grand piano. On the presets on there. Generally, we'd turn off the reverbs stuff on that.
Yeah, we'd add it all on later. Like we were saying before, so if there's two pianos, we group them. So we group them and then add any effects on afterwards.
Yeah. So we get that. And then I would then open up Contact again. Another Contact. Good advert for Contact. Right, okay. And then they've got some libraries on here where they've got some wicked pianos and stuff. I tend to like to use the upright piano. It's the one with the overtones on it. I'd open up the width to 100% because it gives it really wide, sort of nice sound. A little bit of noise on the keys, a little bit of pedal. Just check that that's not clipping, which it's not. Great, so I've got those two. And then pull this up to wherever the Nexus was. Okay, so now we should have the two together. Right, okay, we've got those two together. Then I'll go in...
so by clicking both of the record buttons, you can use the piano just to trigger them both at once.
At the same time, yeah. So then what I do is go and get a group these together. We normally can spend quite a lot of time on a piano, so I don't know if we've got the time today to sit down to do like a whole hour on doing the piano.
Getting a piano sound.
This is just generally quickly what we do. So I'll go in, stick that on group 2. As you can see, Sergey would have wrote piano group on that, whereas I'm a really messy person. I haven't even done that.
It's just called group 2, yeah?
Yeah, it's just called group 2 at the moment, and now I've lost it.
Sometimes when we're really lazy, we actually go into an old project and we'd bounce our piano MIDI out, put it in the old project, use the piano sound from that project, then bring it back in again.
Because we'll know that piano sounds good. It's not being lazy, it's being productive. That's the word. Time productive.
No, but it's a good way to work as well because you can work quite quickly doing it that way. So you don't have to sit there spending the whole time just getting that piano sound every time.
Yeah, just a few plugins we'd stick on, like Vintage Warmer, which... That was in that phone. Yeah, sorry, I'm going mad. Yeah, Vintage Warmer. Just put a little bit of fuzz on it. So we just put a little bit of fuzz on it here. I'll generally turn up. Kind of know from doing it before what sort of the piano sounds.
This is kind of like a valve emulator.
So it puts just a little. I think it doubles the sound slightly, and it just adds like a little bit of distortion. It makes it not sound so general MIDI. Basically.
Yeah, which is a phrase we use a lot if something sounds a bit too.
And then
unprocessed.
The other thing I like to use is the where is that thing? I can't remember where it is now. What are you looking for? You know, the tape emulator thing.
That's just in distortion.
Distortion. Right. Okay. Yeah. It's the J37, which is like this little tape machine thingy, and it's just add a little bit of noise on there and a little bit of saturation. It just gives it like quite a.
Makes it sound like it's recorded off an old vinyl or something, which is cool.
So, yeah. Anyway, so that's just roughly what we do. We'd spend more time processing it and everything, but that just to get this vibe. Okay, so at the moment, it's in. I'm just trying to think. Where are we? It's in B. So I actually quite like playing in A. So what I do is I
you just
basically, bring it down, transpose it down, up to. Both of them, yeah. So yeah, so we've got so then if you drop the...
Do you want me to lose the bass? Or...
No, leave it in for a second. Just see if I can do something around.
Shall I mute the vocal?
No, leave the vocal.
Leave everything in, yeah.
You are all I need. 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 Take away this moment. You are all I need. 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 You are all I need.
Yeah, so we can try and do something kind of simple over the bass, or we can maybe lose the bass and try something that's just totally independent. So
maybe lose the bass for now.
Yeah,
try something independent.
Okay, just play it again.
You are all I need. 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 You are all I need.
Yeah, okay, that's that kind of way. I'll go.
You are all I need. 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 You are all I need.
Something like that. Yeah, something like that could work, I think. Sort of nice and housey, but... Right.
What was the first one you played?
I just went...
Oh, it's just the same.
Yeah, but just with a different rhythm. Which one did you prefer?
Quite like the first one, I don't know.
Okay, we'll play it again in a minute. I'll just see if I can...
You are all I need. 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 You are all I need.
Yeah, this is better, I think.
You are all I need. You are all I need. You are all I need. You are all I need.
Cool with that?
Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay, I'll give you a 1 bar run-in. I was only playing on one of them now.
I think that's... Yeah.
Doesn't matter though.
Oh, oh, oh. You are all I need. 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 You are all I need.
So, yeah, so we got that.
So...
I hit a few sort of...
Do you want to go in
notes
and...
there, as you do.
I'll just delete one of them for now.
Yeah.
So we'll work on one of them, because then we can just duplicate it.
It's literally, you could cut that in half. It's the same pattern, just wrapped over twice. So. Okay, so I go in.
There's a little extra note there.
Yeah, take out all the sort of little extra notes that I hit, which I didn't mean to. Jack the old volumes, the velocities up on this. Get the function going again and quantise the lengths of the notes again, and then we'll see.
You are all I need. 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 You are.
Okay, so that's sounding cool. It's sounding a little bit high, so I might add a fifth in there, so to the bottom bit.
Sounded like the notes could be slightly longer as well.
Cool.
So I have to fatten it up a bit.
To make the chord a bit fatter.
Sounding fatter anyway with that.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I added a
that's
fifth.
fattened it anyway.
Might even put an octave on there as well, but there's no bass in there at the moment. A symphony. So now. Okay, cool. So yeah, so we could do that, and then what we'd maybe do is get like a filter on there. Let's have a look what we got.
See now modulation, the meta filter.
Yeah. Okay, so we open up the stereo meta filter, which is the waves one. And then we can get that nice sort of build sound in the break. We drop the, put it on a low pass filter.
You are all I need. You are all I need.
just like a little build there. I'd probably put a bit of res on there as well, so it sounds a little bit sweeter. Ooh, not that much res. Okay, so I can record that in by just hitting the right button.
You are all I need. You are all I need. You are all I need. You are all I need.
So I've done that. Take right off, and I can now go into the automation down here. No, it's not there.
You're on piano group.
Sorry.
You just need to, right
Yeah,
click.
that one.
Oh, there it is. It's there
Completely
already.
mad. Yeah, and then if I want to do the automation, I'll open this up a bit so you can see what's going on. I'll start the filter down low, work out where that.
You are all I need.
Do a gradual build and then have it totally open towards the end.
You are all I need. 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 You are all I need.
Yeah, so that's sort
So
of
you
like a
probably
build.
loop that again, the whole thing.
Yeah, we'd get that, loop the whole thing, just hold down Alt and the left mouse button, and you can drag it, other than Sergey always does it the other way, where he does
Control D.
Control D. Well, I do it this way, but as soon as I get onto my laptop, you need to be like ambidextrous to do it, so I've got to learn how to do his way, because I've been working more off my laptop these days. Okay, so we're into the next section where maybe we'd add a string, say, that would come in. Generally, could either be playing an independent melody, but just for today, we'll put it
Following the piano.
just to boost that up. And the string that I kind of like to use quite a bit is it's called East West. I'll open that up, put it in here, show you. Which is this one, and I have
Symphonic orchestra.
yeah,
called.
symphonic orchestra. Here's one I prepared earlier, a string. It takes a while to load up. Okay, so what I've done there, I literally have just copied the piano MIDI to the East-West here, and I'm just going to quickly check.
I think you pitched it, didn't you?
Yeah, it is pitch different, so I've got to put that up 2 semitones. Maybe turn it up another octave, so that's like up 14. Okay, so that can give it like a rise, you know, an extra lift when it hits that section. What I generally do with this one is use the vintage warmer again on this, just to give it that sort of dirty sort of, I don't know, like a bit like more like a vinyl 70s sort of sound string. Okay, so where are they? Just get that. That's kind of it. And then drop the volume down on that. What I'd probably do is bounce that out actually, because yeah, I'll do that afterwards. I'll just bounce this out, which is go down into export, audio, then find the instrument, which
I think it's that one that just says 1-2.
yeah, that's the one, and then right, staccato string, bounce it out to the audio pool and the and as an audio track. Should do it pretty quickly. Boom. There it is. Okay, so now that's like that. Sometimes with this synth, because it's like a string as well, it's slightly late. So there's like a little, I'm just going to delete the MIDI there. There's a little function where you can delay the time. So it starts later or earlier. One here. But generally, I'll pull it back just a tiny bit.
It's funny, since we've got the new version, it's not so bad, is
Yeah,
it? The old version, it had quite a delay on it.
About 10, you know, minus 10. And that gives it, that pulls it just slightly more into time with the piano. Okay, so yeah, we've got the string on there.
All I need, you are all I need. You are all I need.
So now we've got to this point, what we'd probably do now is we would get this full vocal to use as a kind of a bridge between the breakdown and the drop, which will be the bass coming back in with the drums and maybe the chop vocal as well. And so that would kind of be the next, our next procedure would be to add some sort of white noise, effects and everything building up, drop into that vocal, and then maybe a snare roll, kick back into the bass line with the drums, choppy vocal, and then take it from there.
Yeah, that's just like an insight to how we sort of start a track,
a rough idea,
and get the sort of the bones down basically for it. So.